The final boss in Shadow of the Erdtree is arguably one of the toughest bosses in Elden Ring. Hell, I think it could even stand toe-to-toe with some of the most difficult bosses in From Software's history. With help of GameSpot's Soulsborne experts, we've rounded up some tips and best practices to arm yourself against this formidable foe. Before we go any further, if it wasn't obvious already, I will be spoiling the boss in 3, 2, 1. Radahn is back, and he's got a bone to pick with the lowly Tarnish that claimed victory in his tournament. This fight consists of 2 phases. Phase 1 encompasses roughly a third of his health bar, and Phase 2 consists of the rest. Getting through Phase 1 requires pattern recognition, fancy footwork, and some restraint. Phase 2 requires all of that with extra precision and a lot of luck. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to set expectations. This is not a build guide. I'm not going to tell you to respec or track down specific weapons or talismans that fit a certain playstyle. However, I highly recommend streamlining your build. Every extra bit of damage and health counts, so if you've been a bit loose with your character, you might want to pay a visit to Rennala and clean things up. For example, I invested most of my points into Strength and Arcane, but I sprinkled in some Mind and Holy stats as well. I quickly and painfully learned that spellcasting didn't cut it for my approach, and those points were better spent on Vitality, Strength, and Arcane. It's also worth double checking your talismans and armor. Like I said, every bit of damage and health counts, so make sure you're synergizing. I had enough endurance to medium roll with some heavy armor sets, so I picked out armor that would provide ample protection without compromising my agility. You might find that fast rolling works better for you, so be sure to try out different armor sets. Additionally, because I was leaning into Strength and Arcane, I decided to rock the new badass curved greatsword called the Putrescent Cleaver. Not sure if that was a better idea than my trusty Executioner sword, but I was steadfast on using this glorious greatsword. Luckily for me, Shadow of the Erdtree added a new talisman that increases the attack of two-handed weapons, so I kept this equipped, as well as other talismans that fit my playstyle. While you're at it, you should also grab the Golden Braid Talisman, as it gives you massive holy resistance. It can be found in the Shaman Village. If you don't know where that is, check out our Secret Areas video. We recommend leveling up both your Shadow Realm blessings for both your character and your Spirit Ash, if you plan on using a summon, of course. This will reduce incoming damage and increase damage output. Finally, you may want to track down Miquella's Broken Rune. To do this, beat the Scadutree avatar under Shadowkeep's Cathedral District. In this video, we've used footage from 2 separate builds, so keep that in mind as you watch. Once you're done prepping, it's time to familiarize yourself with Radahn's moveset. In Phase 1, he has 9 primary combos and attacks that he will cycle through. Almost all of them can be punished, and a few of them can be baited out. However, that punish window is small, and some moves can't reliably be baited out. I'm going to unofficially define all these moves, and then we'll break them down. Comet Attack, Gravity Attack, Meteor Shower, Flip Attack, Earthquake Combo, Spinning Blades, Slow Attack, Fire Blades, Right, Left, Center. I'd say 90% of the time, right when you enter the arena, Radahn will use his Comet Attack, where he leaps in the air and hurls himself towards you. It does a lot of damage, but it's easy to dodge and punish. Roll when he reaches the apex of his jump and retaliate. Don't get too greedy though, because the second he gets back up, he will strike. The other 10% of the time, Radahn will either do a flip attack or a gravity attack that will drag you in close to him. The flip attack is easy to dodge, but it can be tough to punish because sometimes he does that attack twice in a row. I recommend hitting him with a light attack or a roll attack after that first flip, that way you can dodge again if he decides to do a second. I would always expect a second attack, so don't overcommit to offense here. The gravity attack is fairly easy to dodge, but difficult to punish. When he lifts his sword up, roll. Chances are you'll be too far to effectively punish him unless you have a quick and reliable ranged attack. In my case, I usually use this moment as an opportunity to sip on my flask or use an item. If you do get caught in his gravity attack, he will follow up with a big AoE attack. As soon as you get pulled in, try to make as much space as possible and roll backwards. It's a tough move to dodge, but it can be avoided. After throwing out his first few combos, Radahn typically calls in a meteor shower. He'll dig his swords into the ground and launch himself in the air. This move has some weird hitboxes. Thrusting his sword into the ground won't hurt you unless you're really up in his grill. However, when he launches himself and the comets in the sky, his sword can hurt you. Once he's in the air, either sprint right or left and spam rolls as the first meteor is about to make contact. I never found a perfect way to dodge this attack, but once I got the timing down, I felt like I was able to avoid it 75% of the time. Another cheeky strategy, if you keep Radahn close to the edge of the battlefield, most of his meteors will break on the arena, making it much easier to dodge. Lastly, if you perfect dodge at the beginning of his attack, you should have just enough time to heal up. Radahn doesn't waste a lot of time after his meteor attack. He'll either use his gravity attack or comet attack, so I don't recommend hitting your flask unless you know what he's going to do next. Most of the time he goes right into a gravity attack, which is a perfect opportunity to heal up and catch your breath. When you're up close and personal with Radahn, he has a few tricks up his sleeve. The easiest to deal with is his Earthquake combo. He starts this with an Earthquake Stomp, follows it with a downward swing, and then 2 swings from right to left. The Earthquake Stomp needs to be dodged either to the right or left. If done correctly, you'll avoid his foot and the Earthquake. The downward attack can be avoided in any direction, and the double swing should be dodged to the right or left. If you're using medium roll and dodging to the right, you'll need to dodge early and spam the dodge button to successfully avoid both swings. This should put you on Radahn's side for his final attack. For this, he swings both swords into the ground and creates a huge earthquake. Fortunately, if you've dodged properly, the earthquake and his swords won't hurt you and you can attack him. Just don't get too aggressive because after that earthquake fades, he'll be on the offense again. In addition to his Earthquake combo, Radahn has a Spinning Blades combo. These swings typically come from right or left and can be easily dodged by rolling the opposite direction he's spinning. There are 2 possible combos from this setup where his attack speed changes between hits. You may have some time to punish him, but it's a shorter window. Occasionally, he'll also throw out a slow hit combo that does massive damage if you're caught in it. The first swing will knock you in the air and the second will slam you back down. If you get hit by the first attack, you can't dodge the second. Fortunately, this is an easy attack to dodge as it's slow, easy to read, and can be punished. Radahn's Fireblade attack is a double slash that catches fire shortly after he swings. The swords are easy to dodge, but the timing on the fire can be a little awkward. If you roll into or away from Radahn, you should be okay. The left, right, center combo is the most frustrating of the bunch. Radahn will swing left to right to left, and then swing both swords at the same time. We've heard rumblings that the mechanics of this move may have been changed with the Day 1 patch, but we've been unable to confirm it. As far as we can tell, it is nearly impossible to dodge every hit of this combo if you're up close. I've done it before, but I never figured out how to do it reliably. To make things even trickier, the second attack seems to always stun, meaning you are guaranteed to take that third hit. This move alone is why I had to grind out Shadow Realm Blessing levels, because this combo would one-shot me until I hit level 17. Once you knock off a third of his health, Miquella joins the fight to make things significantly harder.
Then yield the path forward to us.
If you're using Summon Spirits, now's the time to call your Mimic. You could call it earlier, but I found the Mimic to be pretty instrumental in Phase 2, and when I did call it earlier, Radahn would melt it in like 30 seconds. For the most part, Radahn's moveset is the same. However, almost every attack and combo does AoE holy damage. These AoE attacks are slightly delayed and follow the same pattern as Radahn's sword. For example, if Radahn does one of his overhead swings, Miquella's attack will follow his sword a moment later. This means the direction you dodge is key. Vertical slices should be dodged left to right, while horizontal slashes require a bit more thought. It's also important to note that most of Miquella's holy attacks have a bit of range, meaning if you keep close to Radahn, you might have an easier time avoiding Miquella's attacks. The most important remix move you need to prepare for is his Earthquake combo. You can dodge it in a similar fashion, but at the end he does another attack where he pulls up the ground. Way to beat and dodge it before you punish him. On top of Radahn's remixed attacks, he also has a few new tricks up his sleeve. Usually at the beginning of phase 2, he'll charge up a massive AoE attack. As long as you're sprinting, you shouldn't have much trouble avoiding it. After the blast, be careful because Holy Spears will continue to rain down for a few seconds. If you're using a Mimic Tear and your Mimic Tear was unscathed during Radahn's AoE attack, now's your chance to get in a few hits while he's distracted. Another move of his that's been altered is his Meteor attack. After he fires meteors at you, he'll launch 4 apparitions at you. These don't hurt much and can be completely avoided just by walking to the right. After the 4th, he'll swing at you himself. Unlike the other attacks, this one does a lot of damage, so brace yourself. After he smashes into the ground, he'll raise up the ground, which is what does the most damage. Wait a beat, then dodge again as he pulls the ground up. If you've managed to come out unscathed, you'll be rewarded with a lengthy punish window. If you're using your Mimic Tear, at this point you'll want to manage Radahn's aggression effectively. He can nuke your poor little Mimic in seconds, so you'll need to constantly pull his aggression back and forth. There's a bit of luck involved, but if you time your strikes and show some restraint, you should be okay. Occasionally though, Radahn will go for a grab. The first grab does nothing, Miquella just talks to you for a bit. The second grab is an insta-kill though, and this goes for you and your Mimic. However, remember Miquella's broken rune? If you pop that after getting grabbed the first time, the second grab won't kill you.
Lord of the Old Order, let us go together.
The best case scenario, Radahn grabs your Mimic. He's invulnerable for most of the animation, but as he sets down your Mimic, you can get in a ton of free hits. I recommend going for heavy attacks and jump strikes to hopefully trigger a stagger. The good news is that this grab is pretty easy to dodge. Once you get the timing down, you can get a few swings in before he goes for the grab. Just be ready for a follow-up attack. Radahn also has a dodge attack where he leaps across the battlefield and cuts through anything in his path. Finally, there's one other combo that Radahn does in phase 2 that's lightning fast and will probably insta-kill you. You can avoid all of his attacks, but it's not easy. Perfect dodge until he jumps. At that moment, run backwards and dodge when he strikes the ground. It's tough to avoid, but as long as you're far enough away, it shouldn't one-shot you. Radahn is a battle of attrition and perseverance. Learn his patterns, wait for openings, and show some restraint. If you punish too hard, he'll kill you in the blink of an eye. Now, one more note, if you've been following the NPC questlines, there's another wrinkle to this fight. Ansbach and Thalir can fight alongside you. On paper, it sounds great to have an extra body to throw at Radahn. Ansbach even has some great lines when he enters the battlefield. But this vastly increases Radahn's health, and it makes phase 2 absolutely brutal. Maybe they'll help with your build, but they did me no favors. If you want to see our very own Dave Control defeat Radahn with no HUD and no summons, check out our boss video on YouTube. I hope this helps, and if you have any more tips, drop them in the comments below to help out your fellow Tarnished. See you next time.